It's funny how families measure love in square footage and mortgage payments. I swirl the champagne in my glass, watching the bubbles dance while my father's voice booms across our marble-floored living room. To Mason and Lily. The crowd echoes his toast, their crystal glasses catching the light from the chandelier. I force myself to smile, to play my part in this carefully orchestrated display of family unity. I'm Naomi, and this is supposed to be my cousin Mason's engagement party. Instead, it's becoming another reminder of where I stand in the family hierarchy. But that's not all, my father continues, his hand resting on Mason's shoulder. Karen and I want to give you both the perfect start. We've purchased the Victorian on Maple Drive for you. The room erupts in gasps and applause. My champagne glass nearly slips from my grip. The Victorian on Maple Drive, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and a wraparound porch that I've dreamed about since childhood. The house I mentioned wanting to buy just last month when I announced my own engagement. Dad, I don't know what to say, Mason stammers, his eyes wide with genuine surprise. Lily clutches his arm, tears streaming down her face. My mother catches my eye from across the room. She knows. Of course she knows. Her face carries that familiar expression, part sympathy, part helplessness, that I've grown to resent over the years. Come here, son, my father says, pulling Mason into a bear hug. Son. The word echoes in my head like a cruel joke. I watch as my father's eyes shine with pride, the same eyes that turned cold when I showed him my promotion letter last week. Ethan, my fiancé, squeezes my hand under the table. We should go congratulate them, he whispers. In a minute, I manage to say, but my voice sounds distant, even to myself. The room suddenly feels too small, too warm, too full of people cooing over architectural details of Mason's gift, while I sit here, suffocating under the weight of yet another reminder. The closing is next week, my father announces. We'll have the keys just in time for the wedding planning to begin. I stand up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. A few heads turn, but most are too engrossed in the celebration to notice. I make my way to the powder room, my heels clicking against the marble in perfect rhythm with my racing heart. Once inside, I grip the edge of the sink, staring at my reflection. The woman looking back at me wears a designer dress, bought on credit, and perfectly applied makeup that can't quite hide the shadows under her eyes from working overtime to save for a down payment. A soft knock interrupts my thoughts. Naomi? It's my Uncle Rick, my father's younger brother. Are you all right? Never better, I call out, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. Listen, about the house, he starts, his voice low. There's something you should know. The door swings open, cutting him off. Lily bounces in, her engagement ring catching the light. Oh, Naomi, isn't it amazing? And it's right down the street from you and Ethan's apartment. We'll be neighbors. I meet her eyes in the mirror, watching her excitement fade as she registers my expression. I mean, once you and Ethan find a place, of course. Of course, I echo, straightening my spine. Years of practice help me slip on a smile that doesn't quite reach my eyes. Congratulations, Lily. The Victorian is perfect for you both. As I brush past her and Uncle Rick, something shifts inside me. The familiar ache of being overlooked crystallizes into something harder, sharper. My father's voice carries from the living room, laughing at something Mason said, and I make a decision. If love is measured in square footage in this family, then it's time I change the metrics. Starting tonight, the Sunday brunch tradition at my parents' house feels like a carefully choreographed dance of pretense. I push eggs around my plate while Mason and Lily gush about paint swatches and crown molding for their new Victorian. The master bathroom has the most incredible clawfoot tub, Lily says, reaching for the salt. Daniel, you really thought of everything, my father beams. Nothing but the best for family. The word family lands like a slap. I set down my fork with enough force to make the china rattle. Interesting definition of family you have there. Naomi, my mother warns, but I'm already past the point of caring. No, let's talk about it. I lean forward, meeting my father's steel grey eyes. Let's discuss how Mason gets a 4-bedroom Victorian while Ethan and I can barely get approved for a starter home loan. Mason shifts uncomfortably in his chair. Come on, Naomi, it's not like that. Really? Then what's it like? The words taste like bile. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly like that. My father wipes his mouth with deliberate slowness. Your financial situation is not my responsibility. If you and Ethan had made better career choices. I'm a marketing director at 28. The chair scrapes against hardwood as I stand. But that's never good enough for you, is it? Nothing I do ever is. You're making a scene, my father says, his voice dropping to that dangerous quiet I remember from childhood. Sit down. Or what? You'll give Mason another house? Lily excuses herself, practically running from the dining room. Mason follows, leaving me alone with my parents and the weight of decades of unspoken resentment. I have supported you your entire life, my father says. Paid for your education, your first car. The bare minimum of parenting isn't support, Dad, it's obligation. My mother reaches for my hand. Sweetheart, please, your father has his reasons. What reasons? I pull away from her touch. What possible reason could justify treating your own daughter like she's second-class family? Something flickers across my father's face. Fear? Guilt? Before his expression hardens again. You want to know the truth? Fine. Mason needs the stability more than you do. He always has. Why? Because he's your precious golden child? Because he's... My father stops abruptly, and my mother goes very still beside him. Uncle Rick chooses that moment to walk in, catching the tail end of our conversation. His face drains of colour. Daniel, don't. Don't what? I look between them, noting the silent communication passing between the brothers. What aren't you telling me? Nothing, my father snaps. This conversation is over. Like hell it is. I turn to Uncle Rick, whose guilty expression tells me everything I need to know about the existence of secrets. What's really going on here? Naomi, my mother pleads, some things are better left. In the dark? Like how you've kept me there my entire life? The pieces are starting to shift, forming a picture I'm not sure I want to see. What is it about Mason that makes him so special? What makes him more deserving of everything? My father stands so quickly his chair topples backward. Enough! You want to know why you're not getting a house? Because you're ungrateful. Because you take everything we've given you and throw it back in our faces with these accusations. Daniel, Uncle Rick warns, but my father barrels on. If you can't appreciate what you have, maybe you shouldn't have anything at all. No more family dinners, no more financial help, nothing. You want independence? Congratulations. You've got it. The silence that follows feels like a physical presence. I look at my mother, who won't meet my eyes, at Uncle Rick, who seems to be carrying the weight of something massive on his shoulders, at my father, whose rage barely masks what looks suspiciously like panic. Fine, I say, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. But remember something, Dad. You're not the only one who knows how to take things away from people. I grab my purse and walk out, leaving behind the remains of more than just brunch. As I reach my car, I hear footsteps behind me. Naomi, wait. It's Uncle Rick, looking older than I've ever seen him. There are things you need to know. Things that could change everything. I pause, key in the ignition, then start talking. Uncle Rick's coffee has gone cold, untouched in front of him at the diner where we've been sitting for the past hour. His hands shake as he pulls out an envelope from his jacket. I kept these, he says, sliding yellowed photographs across the table. Your father made everyone destroy their copies, but I couldn't. The images show a younger version of my mother at what appears to be a summer house. She's laughing, pregnant, with my father's arm around her. But the date stamp makes my stomach lurch. It's 2 years before I was born. I don't understand, I say, but the lie tastes bitter. Deep down, something clicks into place. There was another baby, Rick says, his voice barely above a whisper. Before you. Your mother lost it late in the pregnancy. Daniel. He never recovered from that loss. When Mason was born. Mason isn't my cousin, is he? The diner's fluorescent lights suddenly feel too harsh, too exposing. A waitress approaches with the coffee pot, but Rick waves her away. "Your father had an affair," he continues. "With my wife, Sarah. Mason was the result." The world tilts sideways. I grip the edge of the table, remembering all those times my father looked at Mason with that specific pride in his eyes. The pride I'd never seen directed at me. Does Mason know? No one knows except your parents, Sarah and me. Sarah couldn't handle the guilt. That's why she left. My phone buzzes. A text from Mason. "Housewarming party this weekend. You have to come see what we've done with the place." I turn the phone face down. Why tell me now? Because I watched Daniel destroy Sarah with his obsession over Mason. Watched him slowly push you aside to protect his secret. Rick's eyes fill with tears. I can't stay silent anymore, not when history's repeating itself. What do you mean? Lily's pregnant. Daniel's already talking about setting up a trust fund for the baby. He's going to do to your children what he did to you, make them feel second best to Mason's family. The diner's bell chimes as new customers enter. I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the window. I look exactly like my mother in those photographs, right down to the haunted eyes. "There's more," Rick says, pulling out another envelope. "Financial records, property deeds, everything Daniel's given Mason over the years, hidden through shell companies and fake accounts. The Victorian isn't the first house, it's the third." My hands shake as I scan the documents. Numbers blur together, but one thing becomes clear. The scale of my father's deception goes beyond mere favoritism. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve to know. Because Sarah died last month, and her last words were about making things right. Rick's voice cracks. And because Daniel's about to make Mason CEO of the family company, the position he promised you. The position I've been working toward for 5 years. The reason I got my MBA, worked 60-hour weeks, sacrificed everything else. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Ethan. "Your dad just called, says he needs to see us both tomorrow about the company. Good news?" I look at Rick, at the evidence spread between us like a map of betrayal. "Does my mother know you're telling me this?" Bring the evidence of 2 decades of deception. "Thank you for telling me the truth. Now I know exactly what I need to do." As I walk out of the diner, my phone buzzes one final time. It's my father. "Looking forward to our meeting tomorrow, sweetheart. It's time to discuss your future in the company." I smile, tucking the envelopes into my bag. "Yes, Dad, let's discuss the future." The boardroom feels smaller than I remember, or maybe it's just the weight of Sarah's letters in my bag making the walls close in. My father sits at the head of the table, Mason to his right. A picture of corporate dynasty that makes my stomach turn. "As you all know," my father begins, addressing the board members, "succession planning is crucial for any family business." I catch Ethan's concerned glance from across the table. He knows what this CEO position means to me. 5 years of sacrificed weekends, missed vacations, endless networking events. His hand twitches toward mine, but I keep both of mine firmly wrapped around my coffee cup. "Mason has shown exceptional leadership potential," my father continues. "His recent property development initiative," "You mean the Victorian?" The words escape before I can stop them. Every head turns toward me. "The one you bought him?" Mason shifts uncomfortably. "Naomi, that's not..." "Actually, I have some questions about property development." I pull out Sarah's financial records, sliding them across the polished mahogany. Specifically about 3 properties purchased through Shell Corporation B400. The colour drains from my father's face. "This isn't the time." "When is the time, Dad? After you hand the company to your illegitimate son?" The room goes deadly silent. Mason's coffee cup crashes to the floor, dark liquid spreading across the cream carpet like a stain we can't hide anymore. "Naomi," Ethan whispers, horror in his voice. But I'm beyond stopping now. "Did you know Mason?" I turn to him, watching his world crumble in real time. "About Sarah? About why she really left?" "That's enough!" My father's fist slams the table. "Everyone out, except family." The board members practically trip over themselves, leaving. Ethan hesitates, but I nod for him to go. This is family business after all. Once the door closes, my father's rage erupts. How dare you? How dare I? How dare you? I throw Sarah's letters onto the table. 28 years of lies, of watching you shower him with everything while I fought for scraps of your attention. Mason hasn't moved, hasn't spoken. He stares at the letters like they're written in a language he can't comprehend. I did what was necessary, my father says, his voice dangerously quiet, to protect this family. Which family? The one you created with your brother's wife, or the one you've been neglecting? Mason suddenly stands, chair scraping against hardwood. Is it true? His voice cracks. Dad? The silence that follows is answer enough. Mason stumbles backward like he's been struck. I need to. Lily's waiting. He grabs his jacket, pausing at the door. Were you ever going to tell me? My father's silence speaks volumes. Mason leaves without another word. Are you happy now? My father's voice is ice. You've destroyed everything I built. You destroyed it yourself. Every lie, every secret, every time you chose him over me. I gather the scattered papers, hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. I quit. You quit? He laughs, but there's no humor in it. And go where? Do what? Everything you have is because of this company. No, I say, reaching for the door. Everything I have is despite you. I'm halfway to the elevator when Ethan catches up to me. Naomi, wait, what you did in there? I know it was brutal, but necessary. Was it? Or was it revenge? I stop, really looking at him for the first time today. There's something in his eyes I've never seen before. Fear, maybe. Not of me, but for me. Maybe it's both, I say. Maybe I'm tired of being the only one carrying the weight of their secrets. My phone buzzes. A text from my mother. Mason just called. He told me everything. We need to talk. Another buzz. Mason. The Victorian, I can't keep it, not now. And finally, Uncle Rick. It's done. But are you ready for what comes next? I look at Ethan, at the company logo looming behind him, at the life I'm walking away from. I don't know what comes next, I tell him, but I know I can't go back. The elevator doors open, and I step inside, leaving behind the carefully constructed facade of family business. In my bag, Sarah's letters feel lighter now, but the truth they carry weighs more than ever. 3 empty wine glasses sit between Ethan and me on our apartment floor, surrounded by Sarah's letters and financial documents spread out like tarot cards, predicting my family's destruction. We could take this to the press, Ethan says, highlighting another suspicious transaction. The shell companies, the hidden properties, it's all corporate fraud. I trace the rim of my glass, remembering Mason's face in the boardroom. It's not enough. Not enough? Naomi, this could destroy your father's entire empire. That's his legacy. I want his truth. My phone lights up with another missed call from my mother, 17 and counting. Ethan sets down his papers. You're starting to scare me. Before I can respond, a knock at the door freezes us both. Through the peephole, I see Lily, mascara streaked down her face. I know you're in there, Naomi, please. I open the door but keep the security chain on. Does Mason know you're here? Mason's gone. Her voice cracks. He left after the meeting. But there's something you need to know. I close the door to remove the chain, catching Ethan's warning glance. When I let Lily in, she clutches her stomach protectively, a gesture that makes my blood run cold. The baby, she says, collapsing onto our couch. Your father knew before anyone else, before Mason, even before me. What are you talking about? He had me followed, knew the exact day I took the test. She pulls out her phone, showing me texts from my father dating back months. He's been planning things. The Victorian, Mason's promotion, trust funds, all of it was arranged before I even knew I was pregnant. Ethan starts gathering the scattered documents. That doesn't make sense unless he's done this before, I finish, remembering Uncle Rick's words about history repeating itself. Lily's hands shake as she reaches for her purse. There's more. I found these in your father's study last week. She produces a stack of medical records, not hers but Sarah's, and my mother's. As I scan the documents, the room starts spinning. Genetic testing, fertility treatments, detailed medical histories going back 30 years. He's obsessed with bloodlines, Lily whispers, with creating some perfect family legacy. When I saw these, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Why tell me now? Because he's planning something bigger. The company announcement wasn't just about Mason's promotion. He's restructuring everything. Trusts, inheritance, succession plans, and you're not in any of it. My phone buzzes again. Uncle Rick this time. Daniel knows you have the letters. He's coming for you. We need to move fast, Ethan says, reading over my shoulder. Paul, whatever you're planning, I already did it. My voice sounds distant even to myself. I sent everything to the board members, all of it. They'll find it in their emails tomorrow morning. Lily gasps. Ethan grabs my shoulders. Without telling me? I couldn't risk anyone trying to stop me. You don't understand, Lily cuts in. Your father, he has contingencies, files on everyone. The board, the investors, even your Uncle Rick. He'll destroy them all before he lets this get out. My phone lights up with a text from Mason. Dad's gone insane. He's shredding everything, threatening everyone. What have you done? Then another from my mother. He knows about the emails. Get somewhere safe. Now. We need to leave, Ethan says, already grabbing our emergency bag. But I don't move. Years of being overlooked, of watching my father manipulate and control everyone around him, crystallize into this moment. No, Naomi. He's coming here because he's scared. For the first time in his life, he's not in control. I pick up Sarah's letters, my ammunition, my truth. Let him come. Lily stands, one hand still on her stomach. What are you going to do? I look at the documents scattered across my floor, each one a piece of the elaborate lie my father built his life around. At Ethan, whose fear for me wars with his loyalty. At Lily, carrying the next generation of my father's obsession. I'm going to do what he taught me. I reach for my phone, pulling up my father's number. I'm going to protect my family, what's left of it, no matter the cost. The phone rings once, twice. On the third ring, he answers. Hello, Dad. I think it's time we finish this. The media vultures descend before dawn. My phone explodes with notifications as Sarah's letters and the company's financial records spread across social media like wildfire. I watch from my apartment window as news vans line the street, their satellite dishes reaching toward the grey sky like accusing fingers. Channel 7 is running with the corporate fraud angle, Ethan says, scrolling through his tablet. The others are focusing on the family scandal. My mother's text arrives like a punch to the gut. How could you do this to us? The building's intercom buzzes. Mason's voice crackles through. Naomi, please, let me up. Lily's crying. She thinks this is her fault. I press my forehead against the cool glass. Tell them I'm not here. They know you're here. Ethan sets down his tablet. Everyone knows you're here. My phone rings. Uncle Rick. When I answer, his voice trembles. The board is meeting emergency session. Daniel. He's releasing everything. Every secret, every scandal, everyone's dirty laundry. He says if he burns, we all burn. Let him. But my voice catches as I see my father's car pull up outside. You don't understand. He has proof about Sarah's death. It wasn't an accident, Naomi, and I helped cover it up. The world tilts sideways. Through the window, I watch my father step out of his car, ignoring the reporters swarming him. His face is carved from stone as he looks up directly at my window. What do you mean, covered it up? She was going to tell everyone the truth about Mason, your father. He couldn't let that happen. I thought I was protecting the family, but the line goes dead. My phone screen lights up with breaking news. Real estate mogul Daniel Crawford releases shocking documents. Multiple board members implicated in fraud. Naomi, Ethan's voice sounds far away. Your mother's here too. They're all gathering below. My father, mother, Mason, and Lily. Uncle Rick arriving last. My entire family, drawn together by the gravity of destruction I've set in motion. The intercom buzzes again. My father's voice fills the room. You wanted the truth? Come down and get it. All of it. My hands shake as I reach for my coat. Ethan grabs my arm. You can't go down there, not alone. I started this, and I'll finish it. My father's voice cuts through the intercom. Unless you want Sarah's autopsy photos splashed across tomorrow's headlines. The threat hangs in the air like smoke. I think of Sarah's letters, of the medical records, of years of carefully constructed lies, of Mason, who still doesn't know the full truth about his mother's death. He's bluffing, Ethan insists. My phone pings with an email from my father. Attached photos make my stomach lurch. No, he's not. The elevator ride down feels like a descent into hell. Each floor brings me closer to the chaos I've created, to the family I thought I was punishing, but might have destroyed instead. The lobby doors open to camera flashes and shouted questions. My father stands at the center of the storm, a familiar manila envelope in his hands. You wanted to expose the truth. He holds up the envelope. Let's talk about what really happened the night Sarah died. About the phone calls she made, the evidence she collected, about who was really responsible. My mother's sob cuts through the noise. Mason pushes through the reporters, his face ashen. What's he talking about? Naomi, what did you do? What did I do? The words taste like ashes. Ask him what he did. Ask him about the accident report. Ask him why Sarah's brake lines. Enough! My father's roar silences everyone. He turns to the cameras, his smile terrible and triumphant. My daughter wants truth. Here's the truth. Sarah's death wasn't an accident, and Naomi knew. She's known for years. The lie hits like a physical blow. Mason stumbles back. Lily covers her mouth. Uncle Rick starts to speak, but my father silences him with a look. Tell them, Naomi. Tell them how you found the evidence years ago and used it to blackmail me for your position in the company. Tell them how you're not just seeking justice, you're covering your own guilt. The cameras turn to me, hungry for denial or confirmation, but I can't speak, can't breathe. Because in my father's eyes, I see the truth. He's willing to destroy everything, including himself, to maintain control. And I've just given him the perfect weapon to do it. The family estate's library still smells like leather and secrets. My father sits behind his mahogany desk, surrounded by the carefully curated evidence of his success. Awards, photographs, the illusion of a perfect family. You could have had everything, he says, sliding a folder across the desk. Instead, you chose this. Inside are printouts of news headlines. Crawford Empire crumbles. Family scandal rocks real estate giant. Board members resign amid fraud allegations. Everything built on lies isn't worth having. He laughs, but it sounds hollow, says the daughter who just destroyed her entire family. The door opens. My mother enters first, followed by Mason and Uncle Rick. Lily hovers in the doorway, one hand protectively over her stomach. Show them, my father demands. Show them what you found in Sarah's old files. I pull out my own envelope. The real autopsy report I'd discovered hidden in Uncle Rick's attic. You mean this? The proof that Sarah's brake lines were cut? Mason steps forward. What? Your mother was going to expose everything, my father says, his voice eerily calm. The affairs, the fraud, the genetic testing, her own husband's complicity in it all. He glances at Uncle Rick, who won't meet anyone's eyes. But Naomi found out years ago, he continues. Used it to secure her position in the company, didn't you, sweetheart? That's not... Tell them about the night you confronted me. How you promised to keep quiet if I gave you what you wanted. My mother's sharp intake of breath cuts through the room. But before I can defend myself, Uncle Rick speaks. Stop. His voice shakes. Just stop, Daniel. I won't let you do this again. From his jacket, he pulls out a small recorder, clicks play. My father's voice fills the room. Sarah knows too much. She has to be stopped. Make it look like an accident. The recording continues, detailing plans, payments, cover-ups. Mason stumbles backward. Lily rushes to steady him. "You killed her," Mason whispers. "My mother." "To protect you." My father slams his hands on the desk. "Everything I've done, the houses, the promotions, the lies, all of it was to protect you from the truth." "What truth?" I demand. "That he's cursed," my mother says quietly. That's what Daniel believes, that his firstborn children are cursed to destroy everything they touch. She looks at me, tears streaming. "Why do you think he pushed you away? He thought he was protecting you in his twisted way." The revelation hits like a physical blow. All these years of favoritism, of watching Mason get everything while I got nothing. It wasn't because my father loved him more. It was because he feared me. "You're insane," Mason says, backing toward the door. "All of you." "Mason, wait!" My father rises, but Uncle Rick blocks his path. "No more," Rick says. "Sarah died trying to expose your madness. I won't let you destroy anyone else." My father's face contorts. He lunges for the recorder, but I'm faster. In the struggle, his desk topples. Papers and photographs scatter across the floor like confetti. Among them, I spot something familiar. My childhood drawings, carefully preserved. Report cards. Photos of me at graduations my father never attended. A whole hidden archive of the daughter he pushed away. "You kept everything," I whisper. "Of course I did." His voice breaks. "You're my daughter, my firstborn, my greatest fear and my greatest failure." The truth lands like the final piece of a puzzle we've all been trying to solve. The favoritism, the control, the desperate need to keep Mason close while pushing me away. All of it born from a father's paranoid attempt to protect his children from himself. "I'm not cursed," I say, standing straighter. "But you are, with the belief that control equals love. That secrets equals safety." I turn to leave, but pause at the door. The company's finished. The truth is out, but maybe that's what we all needed, to stop living in the shadow of your fears. Behind me, I hear my mother's quiet sobs, Mason's ragged breathing, Uncle Rick's heavy sigh, and my father's silence, the sound of a man finally facing the wreckage of his own making. As I walk away, the weight of revenge lifts from my shoulders, replaced by something lighter but just as powerful. Understanding. The key clicks in my new apartment's lock, a sound that echoes with finality. Ethan follows behind, carrying the last box from my father's house, labeled simply Memories. "Your mother called again," he says, setting down the box. "She wants to know if you'll meet her for coffee." Through the window, I watch movers unloading furniture across the street, Mason and Lily's things leaving the Victorian. They've decided to start fresh somewhere else, away from the weight of inherited lies. My phone buzzes with a text from Uncle Rick. "Found this in Daniel's study. You should have it." Attached is a photo of a leather-bound journal. "I'll pick it up tomorrow," I reply, though my fingers tremble at the thought. The doorbell rings. When I open it, there's no one there. Just a small package. Inside, I find a single key and a note in my father's handwriting. "For when you're ready to understand." Ethan watches me from the kitchen. "You don't have to read it." I do. I sink onto our new couch, the leather still stiff and unfamiliar. Because I need to know if I've become exactly what he feared. The journal's first entry is dated the day I was born. Each page reveals a father's descent into paranoia, tracking every instance of what he saw as the curse manifesting. My stubborn independence, my questioning nature, my refusal to accept the walls he built around our family. The final entry is from the night before everything exploded. By protecting her from herself, I've created exactly what I feared. The curse isn't in her blood, it's in what I've done to her, in what I've become. My phone rings. Mason. "I sold the Victorian," he says without preamble. "Split the money between Sarah's favourite charities." "Good." A pause. "Lily's having a girl." The weight of that revelation settles between us. Another firstborn daughter entering our complicated legacy. "We're naming her Sarah," he continues. "And we'd like you to be her godmother, to help us do better than they did." Through my window, I can see into the Victorians' empty rooms, spaces once filled with the illusion of perfect family life. Now they'll house new stories, new beginnings. I'd like that, I say and mean it. After we hang up, I hurry to open the box labelled Memories. Inside, beneath photos and report cards, I find something unexpected. A small, worn notebook in my mother's handwriting. It's filled with entries about me, recording moments my father missed, first steps, lost teeth, proud achievements, a parallel history of love written in the margins of our family's darker story. The doorbell rings again. This time when I open it, Lily stands there, tear-stained but determined. I knew, she confesses. About Sarah, about everything. I thought staying quiet would protect my baby from all this dysfunction, but I was just continuing the cycle. I think of my father's journal, of generational pain passed down like an heirloom. Then let's break it. She hugs me, her pregnant belly between us like a promise of something new. Later, as evening settles, I take my father's key and drive to his office. The building stands empty, for sale signs in every window. In his private safe, I find what the key unlocks. A small box containing a letter addressed to me, and beside it, a single photograph. It shows my father holding me as a newborn, his face free from the fear and control that would later consume him. On the back, in shaking handwriting, the moment I chose fear over love. I'm sorry. I leave the photo but take the letter, still unopened. Some truths can wait until we're ready to face them. Back home, Ethan has opened a bottle of wine. To new beginnings? No, I say, watching the sunset paint our walls in shades of possibility. To understanding, and to choosing love over fear. I place my father's key and the unopened letter in a drawer. Not hidden, not forgotten, but waiting for the day when reading it will be an act of healing rather than revenge. Outside, the Victorians' empty windows reflect the last light of day, mirrors of what we choose to keep and what we dare to let go.